Good afternoon and welcome to the 209th episode of the Georgia Farm Bureau Georgia Prep Sports Drive for the GHSA State Title. Today we're going to recap the semifinals in basketball. A lot of outstanding results. I got to go down to Fort Valley and cover the Class 4A action. I'll talk about that extensively. We're also going to bring Najeh on to preview some of the finals matchups and go over some of the big results from the semis. So 4A, I went down there to Fort Valley. It was actually really nice. So I was looking at some of the other host sites. I think there were 4 overall. The thing about Fort Valley, it drew a pretty good crowd, but it wasn't a complete sellout. So got to be down on the floor. Just ended up being really great. It is kind of a long drive. It took me about 2.5 hours to get down there. And I was like, okay, I'm going to be lucky. All right, went out for a little bit. And so the last game ended. That was Benedictine against Fayette County. Fayette County got the win. So I write my recap, talk to Coach Flynn afterwards, and then they're like, all right, we're shutting down. Literally the cop that was doing security is like, all right, you got to go. So I posted my story, and I'm like, man, I don't have time to use the restroom before I hit the road again. So I'm coming back, but I got out of there pretty early. And so I'm like, all right, I'm going to stop by the office. I really got to pee. And otherwise, it would have taken 75. So I got on 400, and right at midnight, they shut down all of 400. Literally shut it down for that construction right on exit 4. And I'm stuck on the highway for 45 minutes, not moving anywhere. Eventually got off around Johnson Ferry. Tried to stop at a park because I was so desperate. Got to that door. It was locked. I finally made it to the office, but I'm telling you, that was the most brutal drive back ever. I've never had a piece so bad in my entire life. Holy crap. But other than that, it was a great weekend. So let's just get started with the 4A matchups. And I'll talk about the Fayette County one first, the one that's freshest on my memory. That was the last game. It was Fayette County against Benedictine. I will be honest, I said Benedictine. I thought they were going to win. After seeing those two teams play, Fayette County is way better. So I was wrong about that, and I'm going to tally up all my picks from Friday and give an honest assessment on how I did. So that one was a no. So what impressed me about Fayette County is, this team, they went to the finals, I think, 2 years ago. They have R.J. Kennedy. He's a senior now. He was on that team that went to the finals. And then they've got a bunch of young guys that haven't been there before that were really impressive. So that would be Keith Gillespie, number 4. He's a sophomore shooting guard. Keith Gillespie is a lights-out shooter. You'll see it sometimes in college or even in the NBA, a guy that is such a dangerous threat shooting that he's just posted up in that corner by the sideline, ready to shoot anytime he gets the ball. So Fayette County, they have R.J. Kennedy. They have Sean Van Dorn, number 12. He's also a sophomore. He plays above the rim, averages 4 to 5 blocks a game, can hit the jumper, probably the most athletic guy on that team. He had a tremendous impact once that team got going. But R.J. Kennedy undoubtedly is the best player on Fayette County's team. I think they were up 18-16 after the first quarter. Benedictine went really cold in the second quarter, and R.J. Kennedy scored 9 straight points for him. He had 4 field goals. One of them was an and one, and it was just outstanding moves. A lot of control. He had a great spin move in transition. He was hitting his jumpers. I couldn't have been more impressed with with him. But it was Keith Gillespie that his shooting makes them so dangerous. And right off the tip, Fayette County wins the tip-off. They get one pass at the top of the key, find him in the corner, and then boom, he knocks down the three-point shot. They're up 3-0, probably less than 4 seconds into the game. And then Keith ended up hitting 3 3-pointers in that first quarter. And then what really impressed me about him, because he had I think 2 more threes in that game, but then he would also show patience. Once Fayette County built that lead, he did have some open shots, and I think it's a situation with him where if he's feeling it, he's going to throw it up, but he also understands kind of the momentum of the game and the need for the rest of his team to get involved. And so he would hold it, look for better options, and then later in the game would showcase his ability to drive to the basket. And then reviewing some of Fayette County in the rest of the playoffs, I mean, he hit the biggest shot in that win over Bainbridge that lifted them to that victory. But in that Bainbridge win, Fayette County had built a really big lead. Bainbridge came back. And that would be my only concern, because they were up by 21 points on Benedictine at one point in that game. And then they ended up holding on to a 73-67 win. There was a time where it was a 5-point game. Pace Academy had the ball. They could have made it a one-possession game. Fayette County still could have hit the free throws. So they never really had that situation where they would have been in position to have a potential game-tying shot. But Benedictine did have a really strong comeback in the fourth quarter, and so did Bainbridge. And I talked to their head coach, Andrew Flynn, afterwards, and even during the game on the sidelines, he was kind of besides himself with some of the turnovers Fayette County had. They had a lot of them. I think that's part of their style of play, but he knew that Benedictine was going to come back, and they really had to keep scoring and making big plays to hold them off. Now, what Benedictine did was something I had never seen before. They had more substitutions in that game, I swear to God, than any basketball team I've ever seen in my life. It was like every other possession, their head coach, Frank Williams, it was like a hockey shift. It was 5-man substitutions nonstop throughout the game. And then they would hit Fayette County with a full court press that was, because Gillespie would always be down in that corner ready to shoot, Benedictine would have 2 players back, 1 at half court, and then 2 in the press. And those 2 guards for Benedictine, that's Stephon Frazier and Jordan Dorsey, probably 5'10", 5'11" guys, super fast, incredible handles. They would just, once Fayette County would get the ball up the court, they were so good at coming from behind and punching the ball out and creating these turnovers. And Fayette County was able to, I won't even say win most of it, but they were able to beat the press. But, I mean, there were just so many different turnovers in that game. And that's a credit to Benedictine. But I think part of it was because of Keith Gillespie. And then I was just impressed with Sean Van Dorn, the sophomore. He had a big impact. So let's go over some of the point totals from that game. R.J. Kennedy, I mentioned he had those 9 straight points in the second quarter. He finished with 21. Sean Van Dorn, he had 15, and that was mostly in the second half, where he really just knew how to step up and make the big plays. He had a bunch of great dunks. I'd say out of those 15 points, 3 or 4 of those were dunks, including a nice driving two-handed finish. And then for Benedictine, it was Caleb Jones. I watched him in warm-ups. He hit 10 straight three-pointers but he had a really cold night shooting the ball. Benedictine did overall, but he did finish with a game-high 31 points. He was huge in that fourth quarter rally. Stevan Frazier had 15, and then Gillespie, where was he at? I think he had 21 points. 21 or 23, but it will be really exciting to see this Fayette County team go against Pace Academy in the championship, because that game was completely different than this incredible pace Fayette County used. And Coach Flynn, after the game, he talks about how Keith is a shooter. He's going to take those shots, and he's the guy that can break the game wide open. Fayette County has that lead. They give it to Gillespie. He's going to shoot 40, 50% from three. He is incredible. Definitely one of the best shooters in the state. I've seen it for myself. He is outstanding. Really the only three-pointer he missed the entire game, it was one where I think RJ was driving. The Benedictine defense kind of had him in a bad possession, kind of dribbled it off his knee and had to kick it out. And basically Gillespie had to throw up like a desperation three. It got blocked. So he didn't miss. I mean, he was that good. So all the credit to Fayette County. I picked Benedictine because they had some big wins on playoffs. Fayette County is the real deal. They look outstanding, and they will definitely present a tough matchup for Pace Academy. So let's go to the Pace Academy game real quick and how they won that one. Pace Academy, their head coach is Sharman White, and he did really a masterful job at making it impossible for Westover to come back. Westover had a lot of talent. The game was super close. It was 34-31 Pace Academy heading into the final quarter, and then they ended up winning 57-49. The game was a really slow pace the entire time, but then in that fourth quarter, it was just a free throw fest. In the fourth quarter, Pace Academy went 15 of 19 from the foul line. In the game, they were 24 of 30. Kyle Green had 8 of 10 free throws in the fourth quarter. He was 15 of 17 in the game and then finished with a game-high 17 points. He's either 17 or 18, but basically he had one field goal. The rest of his points came at the foul line. So it's going to be hard to beat Pace Academy if they're shooting 85-90% at the foul line and taking 20 trips. Or in this case, I think it was, 30 trips to the foul line. Unbelievable. And obviously, probably the last 10 of them were just because Westover was trying to just foul immediately, hoping they would miss it. But Eric Chatfield, the sophomore, he went 4-4 from the line down the stretch. He had 13 points. He can obviously go off for more than that. And then Kendall Evans, he had 10 points and really helped set the tone defensively. When Westover was trying to have that comeback, they obviously needed a three because Pace Academy kept making the free throws. They had to find some way to chip into it. And Kendall Evans came up with a huge block on a three-point shot. If there's a minute left and you have a lead, a 5-point, 6-point lead, the last thing you want to do is foul someone on a three-point shot. And to his credit, he didn't foul him. It was a clean block, a really athletic play. And so it's that combination of Pace Academy's defense and their great free throw shooting where they clearly did not play their best game. Coach White said it after, said, we did not play our best. The free throws were huge. Kyle Green and Chatfield really hit some big ones, and we are just excited to come away with the victory. So I got that one right, but I felt really bad for Westover because that's a tough game when the pace of the game breaks down like that. It becomes a free throw contest. It's just frustrating to see the other team just keep making it and preserving that 6, 7 point lead where you really aren't in it anymore, and that's just a credit to them. So Kamari Leverett of Westover, he had a team high 16 points, and then freshman Jalen Holmes had 14 points. Anthony Milton had 5 points all in the second quarter, and Antonio Felder had 8 points. So it's a tough loss for Westover. Their head coach, Dallas Smith, all their playmakers. Felt really bad for Kamari Leverett. Pace Academy, thought they looked good defensively. I really think, though, I haven't made my mind up yet, but I think that game with Fayette County is going to be really, really interesting. Fayette County is obviously going to try to up the tempo in that game, and I think they have more size to challenge Pace Academy, force them to try to hit those shots, which they weren't doing against Westover. It's going to be a really intriguing matchup. Let's go to the girls real quick, though, in 4A. I was also right on one and wrong on one in that one. I picked Griffin to win. They got the 59-54 victory over Hardaway. Hardaway, they are young, and as their coach, as Griffin's coach Roy Johnson said, Hardaway is going to be a team that he's going to have to worry about for the next couple seasons, next 2 seasons, if not next 3. They made a really strong run in the classification with Holy Innocents, Westminster, Griffin, Baldwin, Luella, all these teams. Hardaway went under the radar, but they had a tremendous season, a run to the semifinals, and a really competitive loss to a great Griffin team. Let's see. Hardaway was just down by 2 at the half. It was 27-25. Griffin was able to Hardaway was able to build a 44-41 lead in the fourth quarter, but ultimately Griffin was able to get the win. That was Zy Thompson. She had the big performance down the stretch, and then once she got going in that fourth quarter, she was the difference maker. She missed the third quarter because she picked up her 3rd foul. Coach Johnson didn't want her to play with that 4 fouls because obviously they needed her to be aggressive, and then she came up with some big steals, hit some big free throws, and then Aaliyah Durham really fed off that energy from Zy Thompson and stepped up also. Thompson finished with 15 points. Durham had 15 points in the second half and a game-high 26. Leah Turner also had double figures with 11 and scored 8 of those in the second half. Really stepped up with Zy Thompson on the bench. As for Hardaway, Michaela Johnson had 23 points. She's just a sophomore, so that's what Coach Johnson's talking about. Hardaway, watch out for them next year. Kyla Shelton had 8. Adaza Burrell had 8. And Janiah Hardy had 8. I'm going to do a grade check on them real quick. Yeah, Janiah's only a sophomore. Burrell's only a sophomore. And Shelton's only a sophomore. So their 4 leading scorers, all only sophomores. But let's talk about who Griffin's going to play next, a team they are all too familiar with, which, by the way, Griffin had been to the semifinals 5 times and had never won before, so that was huge. One of the premier girls programs in the state finally getting that win in the semis to go on to the championship for the first time. And now they're going to have to play Baldwin, a team they've already played 3 times this season. They've gone 2-1. Every game has been extremely competitive, and I couldn't have been more impressed with Baldwin. That was the game I got wrong. I thought Holy Innocents was the hottest team. Baldwin absolutely dominated, 58-45. They are so skilled and so good. That Baldwin-Griffin game, 100% guaranteed, is going to be phenomenal. With Griffin's big-time playmakers with Zy Thompson and Aaliyah Durham, they can shoot, they can drive. They're big and physical. Griffin was kind of banged up after that game. I saw a lot of girls icing their ankles. Some were really in significant pain, but it was funny. She stood up after icing. I forgot who it was, but she stood up and she was like, "It's not broken, coach." And then Coach Johnson was like, "Of course it's not. You're standing on it." And so after some ice and kind of letting the adrenaline of the game kind of settle down, it looks like Griffin will be healthy and full strength. Just a tough physical game. Baldwin, 58-45 win over Holy Innocents. Now, why was Baldwin so successful against Holy Innocents? I think the key was Holy Innocents really only had a couple players that were able to score. I mean, anyone else, if they got the ball, Baldwin's size, their defense, it was just like, how do I find Olivia Hutcherson? How do I find Haley Swain? Because I want nothing to do with going up against that Baldwin defense. And so Olivia Hutchinson, she had, I'm pretty sure she had pretty much all of their points. 25 points from Olivia Hutchinson. And then Zanai Preston, a junior guard, she had 10. And then Haley Swain had 7. And then the only other points scored were a three-pointer by Reese Noonan in the first quarter. No one else had any offensive ability against Baldwin, and that was by far the difference. Whereas Baldwin had, they were moving the ball well, no-look passes under the basket to their bigs who were just showcasing incredible touch. So many times when the ball's moving fast and you're trying to get it up, you'll see people hit the backboard and then it doesn't even hit the rim. These girls had incredible finishes down low. And that's the point guard, Madison Ruff. Her handles are exceptional. She was easily able to break that press. Jasmine Williams, number 13, was flashy. She was exceptional and really had some highlight passes. I thought after watching that Pace Academy Westover game with all those free throws and just the methodical pace of that game, the Baldwin win over Holy Innocents, that was the best game I saw that entire night. Baldwin was so exciting. You had Zakira Pascal, another guard, and then the size down low with, who is it? Jamae Easley and Janae Walker, number 5. So let's go over some of the stats real quick. Jasmine Williams, she had that no-look pass to Cassidy Neal. Number 21, a sophomore power forward. Let me just look up her height real quick. She's a 5'10" forward. But, all these girls on Baldwin's team, they can all dribble. You aren't going to have to worry about them turning it over. And that's the biggest difference. It's like, obviously, everyone on the court that's starting in varsity can dribble, but there's a difference. When you can beat the defender to either side and then find your teammates or even throw up a jump shot, which Baldwin shot extremely well, that's a complete basketball player, and they just have those girls all over the court. And I was talking to their head coach, Kizzy Walker, afterwards. So impressive. And she was just saying Baldwin had a really rough start to the season. I think they were 0-4, maybe 5-7 at one point, and then they became what I saw as the hottest team outside of Holy Innocents, who lost to Westminster, was riding a huge win streak. And then they ended up getting the win over Griffin. but then fell short to them, I think, by 1 or 2 points in the region tournament, took the 2 seed, but have just been dominating. So outside of the slow start, okay, I'm still on Hardaway real quick. Outside of the slow start to the season for Baldwin, they've been outstanding. They've really hit their form. And I could not have been more impressed by Cassidy Neal, Janae Walker, Madison Ruff, Jasmine Williams, number 13. And so you really can't beat that. Griffin against Baldwin. I think Baldwin's last state championship came in 1988. Griffin's never won one. The 4A matchups are tremendous. Really are. So just wanted to highlight those. I thought just really had a good time watching them, and can't wait for the finals. But let's go ahead and take a quick break and thank our sponsors, Georgia Farm Bureau.
Our mission has always been to support Georgia farmers. That's why we created Georgia Farm Bureau Mutual Insurance Company, providing financial protection that farmers needed. While this remains the same today, we've grown to protect all Georgians through home, auto, and life insurance. From the very beginning and into the future, we stand for every Georgia community. We are our Farm Bureau.
All right, welcome back. So I'm going to run through the girls' results now. I'll keep my tally open. I wrote down, I circled on Friday the teams that I was picking, so get to find out how well I did. All right, so let's start in 7A. The Norcross girls, 58-46 win over Buford. The thing that stood out to me in this one, saw multiple people that were at the game. They said by far the most physical game they had been to all season long. Norcross really showed the physicality. Obviously, so did Buford, but it was just a really tough slugfest. That was Charlton had 19 points. Janiah Atkins, 12 points. Markesia Lancaster, 10, and Kayla Lindsay had 8. As for Buford, it was Ava Grace Watson had 23, so she scored half of Buford's points, where Norcross had more of the balance and depth. That's why they've been so great this season, and they're going to have to play Brookwood next. Deanna Collins of Brookwood, the Ohio State signee, she led them to a 58-53 victory over a tough McEachern team. 19 points, 11 rebounds, and 5 assists. That's a great sign right there. Brookwood has been outstanding. They haven't lost, but there has been concern that maybe they play down to their opponents. Are they relying on Deanna Collins too much? I think her having those 5 assists shows she is able to facilitate, and she got Jade Weathersby involved. She also had a double-double, 17 points, 10 rebounds. And then a big performance from Danielle Osho, who had 12 points and 5 rebounds. Khalees Hill led McEachern with 20. So what an opportunity for Brookwood to win their first ever state title in girls basketball against the defending state champion Norcross Blue Devils, who really had a tough victory over Buford, showcased their depth, a really solid win. Down in 6A, Lovejoy, the number 3 seed out of Region 3. They won the region during the regular season, got the 3 seed, and then have been so impressive in the postseason. Brianna Preston, all-state level player, an absolute superstar. She had 31 points, and then Lanaya Foster had 25. So those two just went off, led them to a 73-62 win over Brunswick. Brunswick had no answers for Preston and Foster. The other team that many have said is perhaps the most talented girls team in the entire state, that's River Ridge. They beat Langston Hughes 60-46. Great defensive effort, and then solid scoring. Sophia Pearl, 21 points. Kayla Cleveland, 11. And this is their first ticket to the finals. So Lovejoy, they've been there before. premier program. 6A has been tremendous all season long, and now it's all coming down to Lovejoy and River Ridge. What a matchup. And so I got both those right. All right, let's go to 5A, though. I picked Calhoun, so I was wrong on that one. Warner Robins got the victory, 62-53. Tasia Agee had 18 points and 11 assists. That is really impressive right there. Let's see what year she is. That is, Tasia Agee. She is a senior point guard for Warner Robins. 11 assists. And this is going to be their first ever championship appearance, I believe. But Tori Davis had 20 points. She had 6 3-pointers in the game. That's huge. And then they were down 31-26 before rallying to the victory. They're going to play Kell, though. The consensus #1 team in 5A all season long. Kell cruised to a 56-37 win over Jackson. They've been eyeing a championship all year long after falling short the last few seasons, and Crystal Henderson is on a mission. She had 22 points, 4 rebounds, 6 assists, and 3 steals. The Georgia State commit. She is trying to cap an incredible varsity career. She's been getting it done since her freshman season. Teammate Jemiah Gregory had 16 points, 6 rebounds, and 5 steals, and also Jada Green, 13.7 rebounds and 3 blocks. In 4A, we already went over that. 3A, man, Seth was there covering that action, and this matchup is going to be incredible. I thought the 2 teams that came out and won in that game really showed their ability, and so that's Hebron Christian beating Wesleyan. Chit Chat Wright led Wesleyan with 31 points, but Aubrey Beckham had 21 points, and Kayla Lynn had 14, and then Amaya Porter also had 8 points. So Hebron improves to 31-0. Coach Azar, who's leading the Lions, she used to be the head coach at Wesleyan, the 13-time state champs. Now Hebron has an opportunity to complete a perfect season, but they're going to have to do it against Lumpkin County, who demolished Calvary Day 78-31. An absolute clinic. All their girls just going off. North Georgia signee Lexi Pierce, 18 points. Avery Jones, 21 points. Emory signee Mary Molinax also had 18 points. And then Emmanuel signee Kate Jackson had 12 points. So 4 players in double figures. An absolutely dominant performance. Can Lumpkin County spoil Hebron Christian's perfect season? That would be a huge game. Down in 2A, Banks County got the 48-44 win over Josie. That's their 21st straight victory. They're going to play Mount Perrin, who's 30-1. Their only loss was a 2-point game to Brookwood. This is Class 2A. And Jessica Fields had a strong performance, but she did, I believe, get in some foul trouble. That was when the game was 27-25 at the half. Landmark went on a run with Fields on the bench, but then she came back in and had 9 of her 15 points in that quarter. She had 11 rebounds and 8 blocks as well. 6 blocks in the first half. So Jessica Fields has been huge for Mount Perrin. They're the defending champs as well, so that'll be a big matchup. Mount Perrin against Banks County. Girls Class A Division I. Galloway got this one wrong. They beat Elbert County 70-57. They were down early. Were able to pull away at the half, 30-27, and then got the 70-57 win. Tiana Thompson had 23 points, and North Florida signee Kyla Kane had 28 points. Sorry, 15 points. and had 13 of those 15 in the final 2 quarters. They're going to play St. Francis, who beat Woodville Tompkins 76-36. Dominant win. Ken Galloway challenged St. Francis. It's an all-private matchup right there. In Class A Division II, Lake Oconee Academy, 34-14 win over Mount Zion Carrollton. A really low-scoring affair right there. And Jada Williams single-handedly outscored Mount Zion with 18 points to lead the defending champs. And then Clinch County, I got that one wrong. They beat Taylor County 63-55. That was Emayan Grady had 30 points, 25 of those in the second half. So on the girls' side, 12 of 16. Not my best. All right, the boys real quick. A huge win for the Cherokee boys over Norcross in overtime. It was an incredible game. Cherokee, when I saw the excitement, not even in this round, the round before, of their coaching staff, their players, what this win meant to them, it's huge. This is 7A basketball, and they're in the state championship now. It's a huge accomplishment. And now they're, of course, going to be going up against Wheeler, a team that has been dominating. They are coming off a 67-55 win over Grayson. Arrington Page continues to have a heck of a season, but really just down the stretch, he's just getting better and better. 19 points, 11 rebounds, I think 7 blocks. And then Isaiah Collier, he had 19 points. He's been unstoppable every single game this season. So a big rematch. Obviously, Wheeler's going to be favored in that, but can Cherokee pull off a miracle? It would be probably the biggest finals upset in state history if Cherokee can pull that off. So I got the Cherokee one wrong. I knew it would be a close game. I thought Norcross had the edge, but Cherokee is able to get the overtime victory, showing a lot of poise, grit, and resolve. In 6A, Lee County beat Lanier. Got that one wrong. Josiah Parker had 16 points. Harrison Skinner had 9. That shows Lee County is really talented. They're able to beat that Lanier team that was on a roll. And then Alexander, I mean, both these games were super close. That was a 1-point game, and then Alexander edges Etowah 56-53. Braden Liu had 22 points, 8 rebounds. Marvin McGee had 11. So got that one right. In 5A, it's the matchup we all expected to happen. Eagles Landing's going to play Kell. That will be tremendous. Eagles Landing's coming off a 66-54 win over Jones County, the 4 seed. Their run ends. Mercer signing David Thomas had 20 points. Kenny Brayboy had 17. Chris Morris had 16. Kylan McKinney had 11. Eagles Landing, one of the deepest teams, having the 4 players in double figures. And then Kell, how about their defense? 54-33 win over Chapel Hill. C.J. Brown had 24 points. Cannon Richard had 10. And they held young Harris commit Kelvin Hunter to 8 points. And he was Chapel Hill's leading scorer with just 8 points. That Kell defense is the real deal. We already went over 4A. In 3A, we're going to get a great Region 5 championship matchup between Najee. Sorry. Nice commercial going on right now. In 3A, it's going to be Cedar Grove against Sandy Creek, the 2 rivals. And we saw them in the regular season. We saw them in the football state championships. Sandy Creek has had the edge, obviously, this year. They're the number 1 seed. But it will, I think, just the rivalry aspect of it, Cedar Grove, I mean, they've got so many talented players on that team that have been able to make this incredible run. They had a 61-45 win over Douglas, another Region 5 opponent. E.J. Colson, Cedar Grove's quarterback, he had 11 points. Manny Green, 10 points, 8 rebounds. Jalen Adside had 18 points and 5 assists, and Darius Reynolds, 12 points and 12 rebounds. It's just been a team effort from Cedar Grove. I mean, that school, that program, those kids, they are tough. They're competitive. You don't post wins like they do in football and all these sports without just having that winning attitude. But they're going up against a Sandy Creek team that's trying to win their first ever state championship. They're kind of exercising the demons of the past. They've had some heartbreaking playoff losses, but they get a strong 62-44 win over Cross Creek. Sandy Creek's a team that can go off for 100 points, but they can also win these more low-scoring games, and they look really dangerous there. So I got both those right. In Class 2A, the Providence Christian boys, we talked about how good they are shooting the ball. They are going to the state championship, 59-49 win over Model. Their defense showed up, holding Model to just 49 points. And Thomas Malcolm had 12 points in the first quarter, finishing with 4. So he got them off to a fast pace. And then Samuel Thacker, it says the school's all-time single-season leader with 114 three-pointers, came up with the big three-pointer late in the game. So that's Samuel Thacker. He is Providence Christian, the Storm's sharpshooter from the outside. And then West Side, Augusta was playing a red-hot 30-1 Columbia team. They got the 55-52 victory, a phenomenal game. So that's going to be a great matchup. West Side Augusta, I believe the defending champs, against Providence Christian, a team that has been phenomenal year in and year out, but now they're going to have a chance to play in the state championships. In Class A Division I, Mount Pisgah beat Swainsboro. Swainsboro was the lone public school in the semis. They're unable to get it done. A really tough loss, 53-49. And they had a huge lead. 14-1 lead, 43-24 after the third quarter, and then held on to the 4-point victory. Swainsboro outscored Mount Pisgah 25-10 in the fourth quarter. So they were out in front, kind of let Swainsboro get back in it, but a great win nonetheless. And then the number 4 seed, Kings Ridge, got a 53-48 win over Mount Vernon. Mount Vernon, talked about how good they can be. They had a 40-8 run in the quarterfinals to pull away with the victory. It's kind of what they have been able to do when they're playing at top form, but they were unable to get it done. Kings Ridge gets the 53-48 victory. Kings Ridge is the number 4 seed out of Region 6. Mount Vernon was the number 1 seed. And, Mount Vernon had the size advantage, but it looks like Isaac Martin came up big. He had 12 points, 6 of which in the fourth quarter, and then knocked down the free throws to ice the game, showing his poise. So we got that one wrong. And then finally, Class A Division II, Charlton County beat Green Forest 50-49. Absolutely huge victory. Thought Green Forest was destined to at least get a chance to defend its title from last year. They've been outstanding all year, but what a victory by Charlton County. Jarvis Wright had the game winner by banking in a three-pointer. He had 14 points, a true stunner. So I got that one wrong. And then Wilkinson County, a team that has won, I believe, over 10 state championships. It's been a couple years, been several seasons, but the Macon Centerplex is definitely a home away from home. Once they get to the finals, they're so hard to beat. And Justin Stanley had 25 points in their 85-63 win over Macon County. So there you have it. Let's see. Man, 11 of 16 on the boys. Not good. So overall, 23 out of 32. Not my best. But we'll make our picks for the finals in a bit. But let's go ahead. What time is it? Okay, we'll take one more quick break. I'll come back on the other side, and then we'll get ready to bring Najee on. I think he was able to take a closer look at some of these games, and we will talk about what's up on this week's slate when we get back. Let's thank our sponsor, Georgia Farm Bureau.
Our mission has always been to support Georgia farmers. That's why we created Georgia Farm Bureau Mutual Insurance Company, providing financial protection that farmers needed. While this remains the same today, we've grown to protect all Georgians through home, auto, and life insurance. From the very beginning and into the future, we stand for every Georgia community.
We are a Farm Bureau.
All right, welcome back. So yeah, that's 72%. It's a D. It's not an F, it's not a B, it's not a C. But I do feel like, I mean, these are going to be really tough finals matchups to predict. There were definitely some upsets. I mean, how huge was Landmark Christian beating, Charlton County beating Green Forest, the Landmark Christian win, the Kings Ridge win, and then Cherokee over Norcross. So there were definitely upsets. I doubt anyone got them all right, but I think that's good. I was able to see kind of who's the real deal, who showcased that depth, and then there's a lot of teams. I think the Kell girls are a perfect example. Sandy Creek boys are a perfect example. Teams that have been knocking on the door of a state championship for the last several seasons, that have positioned themselves back in the finals with a chance to get it done. I think the reclassification has opened up new opportunities for a lot of these teams. I think it's going to be really outstanding. And there's also a lot of these region rivalries that we're going to see where the teams have played multiple times. Wheeler and Cherokee, Sandy Creek and Cedar Grove. So that will be Baldwin and Griffin on the girls' side. It's going to be a fun week for sure. So let me look at the schedule real quick while we wait for Najee. It's going to start off early. I believe Wednesday is the first game. Yep. We will get started with Class A Division II girls at 1 p.m. on Wednesday. That'll be Clinch County against Lake Oconee Academy, followed by Wilkinson County against Charlton County at 3 p.m. At 5 p.m. we'll have Class 4A girls, Baldwin versus Griffin. So that'll be exciting to see on day one. And then Fayette County against Pace Academy, a game I am really interested to seeing. And we're going to cover and preview a lot of these matchups. I was talking to Daniel Bolton and John Morgo down at Fort Valley. They have covered over 30 games for Pace Academy this season alone. And then obviously they were covering the Fayette County game. And so they got to see a lot of what Pace Academy has been able to do. Okay, I heard some audio issue. Let me stand by on that. But so yeah, we're going to talk to them about that matchup and really what Coach Sharman White, Pace Academy's head coach, has been able to do. He really knows how to look at the opponent, find out what their strengths are, and then come up with a game plan. Just after the Pace Academy win, I mentioned just how many times he's seen them this season. He was really impressed with just the masterful game planning of Coach White against a Westover team that obviously was coming off that big win over McDonough, and just how he was able to control the game like he was with all those free throws and just the different strategies, versatility, and ability. And the thing we'll say about Pace Academy, they're obviously new to 4A. They're still pretty young, but as Coach White was telling me, they're a young team with a lot of experience. Even their sophomores started last year. Their juniors have been starting for multiple years. And so they do have some of that I mean, they have experience, they have seniors, but even their young players have been in big-time situations. I think they even played overseas at one point in Ireland or something like that in a big tournament. So they've seen it all this year. Coach White, one of the best, and I really liked L.J. Moore, their junior power forward, and then Kendall Evans, their senior. He is very versatile, can play the wing, can play forward, can go out and knock down shots, but they're going to have their hands full with this Fayette County team, and a player that I just think is so dangerous, Keith Gillespie, who I was talking about, probably one of the best shooters in the state. He didn't miss, and then once he gets going, he has a great ability to drive, finish. He's got great teammates around him that can finish high at the rim, including Sean Van Dorn, who has gone off big time in the playoffs. He had about 15 this last round, but I've seen him put up 27, 28. He's a guy you have to pay attention to. He can put back dunks. He can grab rebounds. He plays great defense, can dribble, can drive the lane, and was able to knock down some big shots. And I just thought Coach Flynn did a great job in that game. All right, Najee, so I've gone over all these results. Talk a little bit about what you saw in the semis and kind of what stood out to you, what surprised you.
The Cherokee versus Norcross game was really good. That kind of surprised me a little bit. I thought Norcross was going to pull that one through, but Cherokee at the end shot the free throws, ended up missing. Norcross couldn't secure the rebound. It was a scramble towards the end. Before you knew it, time pretty much ran out before Bilal was able to shoot the three. That was huge in that game, but they got 19 points from Braylon Giddens in that victory against Norcross. Taylor Owens had 14. So that's a very big win, I think. I mean, Norcross is a storied program. They've won a lot of titles, they've done a lot of Final Fours, a lot of regional championships. For them to win that, I think was big for Cherokee program, and they're going to advance on to the state final. So, and then Wheeler versus Grayson, that really wasn't a surprise. Wheeler won that by 12 points. Ayrton Page led them with 19 points and 11 boards. Nearly had a triple-double in that one. But, yeah, I thought it just came down to, obviously, it's going to come down to Page and Collier. If you're going to beat them, they're going to have bad games. They're going to have to be inefficient. They have to not shoot the ball well. So we'll see what Cherokee has. But, I mean, I think that's Willard's – again, I think it's Willard's championship to lose. As you said before, they have a really great team. And, it's hard to defend them and stop them. And then, 6A, what stood out to me, Alexander beating Etowah, edging them by 3 points. Very good game. Braden Lute had 22 points in that one. I thought it was an exceptional game between those two teams. Alexander's been number one in every poll pretty much the whole season. And in Lee County, their kind of run to the state championship game has been good as well. They've been unranked all season. I believe they were either a 3 or 4 seed, and they went and was able to beat Lanier. So Lee County is definitely coming. But for them to get this far, I think has been incredible. And then in 5A for the boys, I think it's going to be an incredible game. Eagles Landing versus Kell. Eagles Landing still awesome this season. Kell has played a national schedule. They've played some tough teams all year long. It's going to be interesting to see from that team. David Thomas obviously leads them in their victory with 20 points. But, will they be able to have an answer for Peyton Marshall at the center position? That'll be interesting. And then one of the players had some highlight reels. If you go to Sports Center next, I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but he had 2 highlight reel dunks in their victory in the Final Four that they cruised to. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, you got Jalen Coulter who can knock down shots. He hits about 4 to 5 3-pointers a game, and then you got, like I said, Peyton Marshall there. And they run a bunch of different things at you, Aaron Smith is a really good defender. They can run, press, trap, whatever it may be. So it's interesting to see what they're going to throw at Eagles Landing. If Eagles Landing can kind of adapt, I think that'll be the biggest thing. But I think that's going to be probably one of the best title games. It's going to be obviously Kell and Eagles Landing, without a doubt. And then Pace Academy. This is a team that, you probably thought at the beginning of the season, playing in a tough kind of non-region schedule, you didn't think they would be here. But they're here. They're in the national title game, or state championship game, excuse me. They've beaten some pretty good opponents this season. They were the guy at Garland over region with McDonough. And now they're here with a really good coach who's been there, done that. So I think that's going to be interesting. And the last thing that stands out to me as far as the boys, it's almost like the basketball gods has gifted us this game in 3A. I mean, Sandy Creek, Cedar Grove, rematch from the championship of football. These two teams are going to duke it out again, this time a basketball championship on the line. I think it can get much better than that. Both teams have some really good players. EJ Foles has continued to step up. Their victory against Long County, 94-91, he went off. I mean, I think that's going to be an incredible game out in 3A as well.
100%. You mentioned a highlight. I just had to point out the best play I saw all weekend, Benedictine's LaDon Bryant. He had a dunk on RJ Kennedy. The entire arena went nuts. I mean, just a complete poster, and that's what kind of sparked Benedictine to even come back in it. Because Fayette County, they had been dunking all game, and then I'm telling you, he just absolutely posterized them. I'm going to have to see if anyone has that clip. But speaking of clips that I saw, though, the end of that Cherokee and Norcross game, for Norcross to even dig it out and get a shot off, I think that play right there just exemplified what a absolute battle that game was, how intense these late basketball playoff matchups are, and just what a incredible game that was just going into overtime. But what do you think, just that final possession, just seeing like the effort for them? I mean, the player gets the ball, knows the clock's off, like still finds a way to get a shot off. It's just like, that was incredible.
That's what it comes down to. When you're playing for state championships and you're trying to punch your ticket there, I mean, you're going to have to give maximum effort. And you've seen that from both teams. Both teams was diving on the floor, going after the ball, and it was an incredible game from both teams. I mean, in the arena, the atmosphere I thought was incredible. I think that's Georgia State's newly renovated stadium that he just built. I mean, I just think those environments like that would be great for like Elite Eights or even Sweet 16s, wherever it may be. But I thought the environment there was exceptional from both teams. And then when they won, you saw the crowd go crazy. And they still was able, though it was a Final Four game, they still was able to seat everybody. But no, that was an incredible game.
Yes, it was. And yeah, I'll retweet some of these clips. Obviously, our recaps are up, but you really got to check out that ending just to see how excited Cherokee was. I think the best thing they have going for them, even though they have lost to Wheeler, is that they've already seen them multiple times. Maybe they can come up with a game plan, but I think you're 100% right. Arrington Page, he's the guy you have to find an answer for. Look, Cherokee's clearly a well-rounded team, but if he's having the impact he's been having, that's just going to be really difficult for them. But I think you have pointed out in 5A with Eagles Landing against Kell. I mean, all year long, Eagles Landing, they have all these different guys that can get involved, but Kell's defense in the last round, Chapel Hill's leading scorer scored 8 points. I mean, that's insane. So that's going to be a great matchup with the Eagles Landing offense with all those different guys, and then a Kell defense that has just been locked down all year long.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I can't wait for that matchup. I mean, one team with only one loss plays good team basketball against, again, a Kell team that can throw a bunch of different looks at you. It's going to be how you adjust. So I think that game is going to be intriguing as well. And then I think also in Class C Division One, Mount Pisgah, they beat Swainsboro in the Final Four. I believe they're going to play Kings Ridge. I think that's going to be a really good matchup between both of those teams. Sophomore guard Micah Tucker's already having a great career. He's already passed 1,000 points in his young career as a sophomore. Kings Ridge, they're 22-10 coming into this game. He was able to beat a top Mount Vernon team, led, pretty much the whole game. But I just think that's going to be a really intriguing game between both of those teams. Both of the teams have some great players. So look out for them, that matchup as well.
And then on the girls' side, real quick, Norcross, they've been there before, played an incredible schedule. They've had some great playoff wins. We talked about how physical their last victory was. How big do you think that matchup's going to be, though, the star power with Brookwood and Norcross, a great state championship matchup in girls 7A?
Yeah, I mean, the girls' matchups are incredible. I'm not going to lie to you. 7A, as you mentioned, that's going to be such a good matchup. Janiah Atkins on one end, guard for Norcross, and then you got Diana Collins. Those two are going to go at each other. And you got great big men as well on both sides. Two really good coaches. Teams that have been balanced and play really good, tough non-region schedules. That's going to probably be one of the best state championships probably on the docket. Then after that, I think a close second is going to be River Ridge Lovejoy. I mean, you don't get much better than that. Lovejoy already beat this team last year in the quarterfinals. That's going to be a incredible matchup. They're defending their crown. not a lot of answers all season for Brianna Preston. They also got Lanaya Foster. Both of those have won Region Player of the Year for their region. So really great players. It's going to be interesting to see what River Ridge dials up. But then River Ridge has Matia Gale. They got Sophia Pearl. They got probably, I think, the top 5 starting lineup in the state. You can maybe even make the argument in the country, because they got 5 different players that can go at you, signal off one player. So they're going to have to be locked and loaded defensively for Lovejoy, because if you put too much attention to Matia Gale, you put too much attention to Sophia Pearl, Ali Sweat can beat you. They got a bunch of different depth pieces that can beat you. They got some of the best players, I think, probably in the state. So that is going to be another, I think, incredible matchup between, obviously, both of those teams. And in 5A, does Warner Robins have a chance against Cal? Again, I think this is Cal's championship to lose. They have been dominant all playoffs long, all season long. So, can Warner Robins kind of give them a test? Can they make it, difficult for them? Can they take away their best scoring option in Crystal Henderson? Can they make Jemiah Gregory? Can they make, some of the younger players come up, step up, and have to beat them? That'll be interesting to see. And I think in 3A is another intriguing matchup. Lumpkin County, defending state champions, they're going to face off against Hebron Christian. Hebron Christian has not lost a game all season. So they had a really good I think they had a tough test against Wesleyan. Wesleyan that was really bad in a sense to play some of the better teams in the state. But Lumpkin County is looking good with Avery Jones and obviously the big man Lexi Pierce. So, those 2 matchups are going to be pretty good.
100%. I think Hebron, they faced a really tough matchup with Wesleyan. They got that win. That's huge for them. Now it's just 1 game left, but Lumpkin County has been so impressive. I think what you said about Warner Robins and Kell is true. That's a great one. And what stands out is like Tori Davis for Warner Robins came in that last round, had 6 3-pointers. It's like you have a girl that comes out and has a performance like that. That's going to put a lot of pressure on Kell. And obviously Crystal Henderson, one of the best players to ever come through the state. We'll get to see her finish out her varsity career. Doesn't get better than that. And then got 6A. How do you even pick which one of these is the best? But what stands out about that, when you mentioned how River Ridge is so deep, pin signing, you go down the leading scorers from the game, it's like Matea Gailey. She's going to pin. She had 10 points, but then 7 assists, 8 steals. The girls are just, every one of them seems to know their role. I think that matchup is going to be outstanding. And what classifications are you going to be highlighting for the finals in your previews?
Yes, I'll be doing 6A. I've already got those done, send those over. 6A boys, 6A girls, and I got Class A Division 1 and Class A Division 2.
Awesome. Well, that will be up on Score ATL. You guys can check that out. I'm going to have Class 4A, 2A, and 7A. I got to get that done today. And then Seth's going to have 3A and 5A. So that'll be great. We'll have all those previews up. We'll have more content tomorrow. We're going to break it down with Underrated and Overlooked. Have some great guests on to talk about these matchups and get us prepared for tip-off on Wednesday. We'll be here before we know it. 4 straight days of championship matchups. We cannot wait for it. So, Najeh, thank you so much for coming on.
Yes, sir.
All right. So there goes Najeh, and I think he's 100% right. You look at these matchups, a lot of intriguing ones. The boys' ones are great, but I really think, man, that 6A girls matchup, the 4A girls with Griffin and Baldwin, Norcross and Brookwood, then you have in 5A Crystal Henderson, as we said, trying to close out one of the best varsity careers to ever come through the state. Kell, an opportunity for both the boys and girls to win their first ever title, an opportunity to sweep for the first time ever. That would be huge for the Longhorns. So a big week ahead. I know everyone is excited. It's been incredibly busy in the last 2 weeks. We've had 480 games played. Now we just have 17 left. So it will be a fun 4 days. But we will be back tomorrow at noon. Go to the Score Atlanta YouTube page, subscribe, check out the content, and I'll be back on Wednesday. Najeh will be here on Thursday at 2 p.m., and then I'll be here Friday. We'll have all the coverage. So we'll see you then. Thanks for joining us.